the best across the world when it comes to the transparency mechanisms that we have in the law for holding our government accountable. Apart from the provisions that require several disclosures, quarterly disclosures, semi-annual disclosures, annual disclosures, we have a unique feature in this act for accountability, the Public Interest and Accountability Committee. So it has served us well. However, there have been some challenge I think we may have to look at. The first challenge I see is the way we spend the money, the petroleum revenue. We currently spread the ABFA thinly over so many projects. And so you have project overruns, projects are not completed for the people to benefit from those projects. And so if we have to re-look at the law with a view to amending how we spend the ABFA, the annual budget funding amount, focusing on legacy projects that can give greater impact to development in our communities, that will be something I will support. Also, the ABFA may not be spent for the year, and the law is silent on how we treat the unspent money. And so as per the Public Financial Management Act, where balances on government accounts are swept into the Treasury single account, that is what the practice has been up to today. And so we may have to consider reviewing the law to provide for how to treat unspent balances on the ABFA account. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So ABFA, your concentration is on how we spend the money. Attraction of foreign direct investment. One of the highest investment in the sector was the Sankofa partial risk guarantee, which was given by the World Bank, probably in 2016 coming into 2017. And Chinibua, I think I get it right, Sankofa and then Chinibua. Now you are concentrating on utilization of just ABFA. The PIAC report highlights what you just said, that unspent money. Don't you think that it should revert back to the consolidated fund as public funds?
The ABFA account, Mr. Chairman, is a sub-account of the consolidated fund already. But once you budget to spend and you don't spend part of it, the Public Financial Management Act also requires that all unspent balances in all government accounts be swept into the Treasury single account. And that is what has affected the unspent balances on the sub-consolidated fund account of the ABFA.
Chairman, thank you very much. Attracting foreign direct investment, ExxonMobil, what happened to them? What happened? Why are they not exploring or producing in Ghana? You have any explanation to give, having worked there as Deputy Minister? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we were all happy when ExxonMobil came into Ghana, because as one of the big players in the industry, they bring confidence of the investor into your oil and gas market. Unfortunately, Exxon has decided to relinquish its block, which is quite sad for a country that is developing its oil and gas resources. In the letter sent to the minister why they are leaving, they did not state any reason. But if you have been watching the industry, you would have noticed that Exxon has been going through restructuring in line with their strategy to restore value to their producing fields and also to focus on advantage projects. And so Ghana and other countries have been affected by their strategy. They have relinquished their block in Ghana. They've relinquished 3 blocks in South Africa. They are selling 40% of their assets in Chad and Cameroon to Savannah Energy. And so it's not only Ghana the Exxon is leaving. There are many other countries. They are doing divestment. They are also doing cost cutting. Last year, for example, they cut their capex by about 30%. This year, they are going to cut more. The U.S. president's focus on climate change is also pushing Exxon to increase investment in renewable and reducing their investment in oil. So this is what has affected Ghana, in my view. Thank you, Chair.
Chairman, if you permitted me, I'll take you home. Karaga, new MP for the area. There are security concerns about 3 persons, as you are aware, died to armed robbery, particularly from the corner from Pishigo driving through to Karaga, and the road from Karaga itself connecting to Gushego, very deplorable. Even though you are not Minister for Road, I'm sure you campaign just as I did. I'll do the road, I'll fix the road, I'll fix the water supply system. What do you have to tell the people of Karaga? Insecurity in the area, police posts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you are right about the level of insecurity in Karaga. If you lose 3 people to robbery or alleged robbery, then that is concerning. That's really problematic. And so we've been having discussions with the regional police administration with the view to provide more men. We are also providing motorbicycles for the police who are not able to move, to be able to patrol at shorter distances. We also have started the process of building police stations at the 3 entry points, one in Tamalgo, the other one in Yemokarga, and then a police station in Pishigo.
What about Ga?
Yes, Ga is the Yemokarga road. So the station.
The complaint I'm having as I'm speaking to you has to do with Ga area.
It's between Ga and Yemokarga.
And then connecting to Tampulis village, Zinendo.
Yes, it's the same stretch. So you get to Yemokarga, and then Yemokarga, Yapala, and then Ga.
Where former Northern Regional Minister Colonel Ibrahim is head chief, what's the name of the community?
That is Nyong.
What about that?
That is Tamalgo. We are putting one in Tamalgo, and that is that stretch. Yeah.
Okay. Chairman, so back to petroleum. Do you support the view that we should be auctioning our petroleum blocks, and why? Just like we do to telecom spectrum. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, auction of petroleum block, I think, should be the default process for giving out oil blocks because of the transparency around it. And also, it allows for competition among prospecting companies that want to come and invest. So I support that. Having said this, Mr. Chairman, there are certain blocks that are very difficult for any company to move in there. The ultra-deep oil blocks that will require companies with certain specialized skills. And this is why our law provides for direct negotiation. So, for example, we can go and invite Exxon alone to come because of the nature of the block. So that is provided for in our law, but the default, I think, should be the auctioning, the competitive bidding process.
No, there's not a question, but where we have access to seismic data and we have access to information about the potential exploration and production opportunity of it, that reminds me, this unification debate which is going on between 2 petroleum blocks that the ministry issued. To what extent are you people working to resolve it? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I know that the Honorable Minister has been meeting with the 2 parties. However, this is a very...
Kindly, for my record, Chairman, I need the name of the parties for our record.
Yeah, that is ENI, Vitol on one hand, and then Springfield on the other.
Springfield is Ghanaian, is
Yes.
that the understanding? So
Yes.
what's happening? Timelines.
Yeah,
when
so
should we expect that the unification will be done? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, it's quite difficult to say because the 2 parties are in court. The Honorable Minister, then Minister, gave a directive which ENI was not complying with. So Springfield went to court to ensure that the directive was enforced. To date, ENI has also gone to court for a judicial review if the minister gave. So whilst the Honorable Minister, my boss, is meeting with the parties, the issues in court remain unresolved. And so I'm unable to put timelines to it. Thank you, Chair.
Chairman, sorry, I have to come in early. Dr. Amin, I hope Honorable Tompole will not accuse me of anything. On your CV, you look at page 1. After Ahmadiyya Primary School, you just became a private candidate and wrote O-level. Is that right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so you didn't go to any secondary school prior to your O-level?
I actually attended Northern School of Business, Nobisco, but I wrote my O-level while I was in Form 3. And God willing, I passed, and I had to jump 2 classes to 6th form.
Yeah,
so
but I thought that
this is why I didn't put Nobisco there.
Yeah,
because
so I thought that was, it would have been good for you to place it there. Or other than that, your Nobisco classmates would think you are not proud of the school. So you are trying to avoid the school. Chairman, the other question I want to ask him, I mean, you hear rumoring about PURC and the Energy Commission, possibility of merging them. You know, these were established by different acts of parliament for specific reasons, even though they are all regulators. Is it something that you have come across or you've heard or you think that you are in that ministry about merging these two?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this process started, I think, about 2 years ago when we commenced discussions on the institutional realignment of the sector. You have too many institutions that are involved in regulating the same industry. And over-regulation is one of the problems of investors. And so to bring efficiency into the sector, particularly in regulation, the need to merge the 2 institutions came up in the discussion. The reality, Mr. Chairman, is that Petroleum Commission regulates the economics of the upstream as well as technical regulation. But when you come to power sector, the Energy Commission does technical regulation and PURC does economic regulation. So if you have to realign and bring efficiency, it is, in my view, appropriate to bring economic and technical regulation together. And that will lessen the burden investors have to go through to be able to get their licenses and permits. So I support that view, and I'll support my minister to look at it.
Well, Chairman.
And shepherd the growth of the gas industry, which is very important for us because that is where the value addition is. As for oil, we export, and then when they are refined, they are brought back. But for gas, there is direct integration of gas in our economy. Industries need gas, power generation, and therefore you needed an agency that will focus on growing the primary and secondary gas market. And this is why I think that the separation was appropriate for us.
And now you realize that the role of Ghana Gas cannot be distinguished completely from what GNPC is doing. And almost every now and then, you have trying to reconcile figures because GNPC as owners of the gas that goes to Ghana Gas and indebtedness and what have you, that was the reason why it was under GNP so that it will be under one entity so that they can manage it easier. Yes, it doesn't take away or it doesn't prevent Ghana Gas from focusing on what you are talking about. It is that when it comes to policy direction and other things, it is easier to merge the two instead of 2 different entities probably fighting each other over tough.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, there will be differences of opinion on what model to adopt for the development of our oil and gas industry. Certainly, in some countries, they have the 2. In other countries, they are separate entities. And so this is what the government decided to do, to separate them. But certainly, I agree with you. There are various models in various countries. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Zera.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And good morning, my brother, Honorable Dr. Mohammed Amin Anta. Mr. Chairman, the Honorable nominee and I go a long way. We were in Cape Coast University together and we did a lot of things together. He knows. I don't intend to do some of those things here this morning. This morning, I'm a good girl. So I'll take you to Energy Ministry, where you are going to make us proud. Mr. Chairman, please let me add that most of my mates from Cape Coast University who together we did very active politics in our student days are here with us. And so I think that we made the right choices. And I'm very proud of him. My first question, Mr. Nominee, I'll take you back to my leader's question earlier about Springfield, EMP, and ENI. We've seen two separate statements from these entities this week. And in as much as you try to answer the question, I think that we need to revisit it, because if we don't take care, it's going to play out in the media, and then it will have reputational issues, knowing that there's so much at stake. There's about $8.4 million at stake in this enterprise. What will the ministry do? What will you do with your sector minister to make sure that we manage this situation so that Ghana can reap the full benefits of the Afina, Sankofa, and Afina Fields projects? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it's true that our relationship dates back to UCC. Those days, we used to campaign for MPP. Today, she's sitting on the side of the NDC. That's the only difference that I've seen in our relationship. But to the question, I think I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, that this needs to be resolved expeditiously, because these are commercial matters, and Ghana's interest is firmly in this. At the end of it, it is not only the commercial players that may lose, Ghana will also lose, because GNPC has a stake in this block. I will work with my minister to ensure that this matter is resolved. Particularly, I would have wished that the commercial partners ceased issuing statements, because such sensitive commercial issues need to be dealt with in closed doors. But I'm not there yet. When I go in after your approval, if I'm lucky to be approved by this committee, I will work with my minister to get the companies to come to table so that we can negotiate to resolve this matter. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My next question has to do with age-old thermal oil refinery. What are the issues with thermal oil refinery? Why has this country not been able to utilize TOR to its full potential to serve this country, and also maybe the sub-region? What is the exact story about TOR? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. TOR's challenges are mainly two: obsolete equipment, and secondly, balance sheet problems. Balance sheet because they are not able to buy crude on their own balance sheet. And for the equipment, they haven't been renewed for a long time as a result of lack of investment in TOR. I recall when my minister appeared here before you, he assured you that he was going to look at different arrangements and partnerships to be able to revive TOR, and I associate with the answer he gave to this committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My final question: what will be success for you after 8 years at the Energy Ministry in terms of, well, you've done 4 years already. You are going for another 4 years. So that makes it 8. After 8 years, what will be your success story in terms of the promoting local content in the oil and gas industry in this country? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think that the success story will be that of my boss, because I am assisting him. But at the personal level, I will wish to see more Ghanaians involved in the industry at the level of employment, also in terms of participation in the blocks, and also in terms of the value of contracts executed by Ghanaian indigenous companies. This will be my measure of success as far as local content in the oil and gas industry is concerned. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, Honorable Patrick Bama.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Ameri. Let's look at what benefits Ghanaians in your sector. I'm talking about local content and its regulations. And I think it's something that we've not looked at carefully. You've been in this sector for some time. You're a practitioner, you've set up an NGO in that space. What do you think is the weakness in the local content regulations that we are practicing now? And what you intend assisting your minister to modify to give Ghanaians who are in that space the right to grow their businesses within the oil and gas sector? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Ghana lost opportunities when we developed the Jubilee fields, and to some extent, the Sankofa fields. Because even though the local content regulation requires the companies to recruit Ghanaians, there is a limitation. Once you qualify, you have the requisite skills. But many Ghanaians did not have the skills at the time we developed those fields. And so we lost a lot. We lost out a lot. Today, the numbers that are employed in the industry are not up to my expectation, even though we have seen appreciable improvement. And if I may give some numbers, from 3,139 Ghanaians employed in the industry in 2018 to 5,000 in 2019 to 5,900 in 2020. We've seen some improvement. It would have been more if our people had more skills. And so what the government tried to do was to accelerate the acquisition of skills by Ghanaians through the Accelerated Oil and Gas Capacity Program. And so if I have opportunity to work in the ministry in the oil and gas sector, I will support my minister to give a push to the accelerated oil and gas in terms of mobilizing resources to support the training of as many Ghanaians as we can to be able to work in the industry. Similarly, in terms of value of services provided by Ghanaian companies, we haven't done so well. About $13 billion spent between 2015 to date. Unfortunately, only 2 billion cedis at $2 billion worth of services were provided by indigenous companies. And so we need to be able to increase, because that is where we get money for our economy.
Honorable nominee, tell me, what are the skill sets that are missing, which is making us lose out? Which skill sets are missing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the focus has been on the graduate level programs, geology, petroleum engineering. But most of the jobs are at the middle level, welding, mechanics, electricals, etc., etc. And so through the Petroleum Commission, we have been able to set up the Ghana Institution of Welding to be able to accelerate the training of professional welders so they can take up the jobs that the Filipinos and the other citizens from other countries are coming to take in Ghana. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, still on yours, and Honorable Patrick, welding. And it has to take Petroleum Commission to set up an institution of welding. Why? What's happening to Accra Police Welding Department, the Accra Police Welding Department, the Swami welders, gratis? What's happened to them? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, because the Petroleum Commission is incubating skills development for the oil and gas industry, which they are required to do by law, the institution will help coordinate what the other institutions are doing, the holding departments of other institutions are doing. Indeed, the Petroleum Commission is even helping the holding department of those institutions with equipment. They've also taken teachers in those institutions abroad for training so that they can acquire certificates, international certificates that will allow them to train Ghanaians that the oil companies will absorb. You know, if they are not given those certifications, then it will be difficult to get them in. So the Institution of Engineers of Welding is coordinating through the Petroleum Commission, providing resources, providing equipment, you know, so we can accelerate the development of those skills for the industry. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Let's go to the GNPC. Ghana National Petroleum Corporation Exploration and Production Company Limited, EXPLOCO, was born out by GNPC's aspiration to grow its interest and participation in exploration and production activities in the country. In so doing, they took over or took interest in some blocks or entities. And over the period, they've encountered some issues. What has been the challenge and what are you going to do to resolve that, especially with the acquisition of shares or equity in some of the blocks? We are encountering some challenges and I'm sure you're aware of that. So what has been the problem?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, EXPLOCO was set up as the technical wing, the exploration wing of GNPC. Unfortunately, EXPLOCO has not been adequately resourced, and so their activity was quite passive. Before the election, the 2020 election, the minister and GNPC discussed the need to revive EXPLOCO, particularly as the global oil and gas industry is increasingly adversely affected by the energy transition the world is going through and the need for Ghana to accelerate our exploration to be able to discover as more oil as we could and then get our value before oil runs out of value. And so GNPC was informed about the policy to revive EXPLOCO. I'm not there at the moment, and so, Mr. Chairman, I'm not able to give update on the status of that policy as far as EXPLOCO is concerned.
Chairman, but you are a deputy minister there, so what is this? I'm not there yet. You are a deputy minister for energy. You are only being returned as senior deputy to the Honorable Obi Amua, deputy. So tell us, you are there, and then in answering Honorable Patrick Boama, you are saying to discover more oil. So tell us, what will you do to assist your minister to discover more oil? You shouldn't be giving us a narrative as if we are to do it. That is why the president has sent you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, with particular reference to the EXPLOCO, I think I mentioned that there was a discussion between my former minister and GNPC on the need to revive EXPLOCO. But I'm also saying that since January 6th, I have not been at post. Whether the current minister, my boss, has continued with that policy or there is a policy change, that is what I'm unable to talk about. But if I have to advise my minister on that policy, my advice strongly will be that he supports the need to revive EXPLOCO so that EXPLOCO can accelerate exploration for Ghana. As far as discovering oil is concerned, my minister has already indicated that one of his priorities is to find more oil. And we have done some work in the past towards that in order to discover and get value as quickly as possible through amendment to some of the regulations we brought to Parliament. For example, one of the amendments required oil companies to do exploration in producing areas. Hitherto, you could not do exploration in producing areas, and yet you could have oil stranded in the producing areas. You needed a new petroleum agreement before you can do exploration. So that was amended to allow these companies. So Tullow Oil, for example, is embarking on a $370 million exploration campaign as a result of this new policy. So I'll advise my minister to consider providing the environment as well as changing some of the legislations that are adverse to increasing exploration and production so that Ghana can discover more oil for the benefit of our people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, my last question.
Yeah.
And I'm reading a quote by the President in his 2018 State of the Nation address to the House. I've directed our state-owned oil development company, GNPC, to pay particular attention to this potential. It is good to hear that directive appears to be yielding dividends, as GNPC, from the results of its pilot survey in the Voterian basin, has established the presence of a working petroleum system. The President indicated that February 11, 2018, with regards to work on the Voterian basin, what is the status of that program? From Yendi, Agogo, down the line, what is the status of the onshore exploration, the 3D seismic program that we've paid so much to the Chinese? What is the status? Thank you. Chairman, that's my last question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it's true that GNPC acquired seismic data, and they have completed the interpretation of that data, assessment and interpretation of that data. And the preliminary results I hear from GNPC is that it is quite promising. It is promising that we have accumulation of hydrocarbons there. And so in this year's budget, GNPC is supposed to drill one well to confirm the level of accumulation. And so if that is done, certainly our quest to produce oil onshore will become a reality. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Honorable Gaga first.
Honorable Dr. Amin Anta, Mr. Chair, when I was in the university, I was mate to one of his brothers. He actually did well in mentoring us. And so I must say that he helped me cut my political teeth. Congratulations once again.
Thank you, sir.
Honorable, when you were executive director for ASEP, you delivered a paper at the launch of the Citizens Agenda for Energy Sector Development Project in Ghana on the 4th of July 2016. And in that paper, you identified 2 key issues as being relevant for revamping the power sector in this country. Those 2 issues you identified were financing, technical and operational efficiency of our utilities. Then, at the tail end of the paper, you had some message for our political parties, and these were your words. Let me quote them. Citizens must, and I'm quoting you, citizens must question our political parties on how they will address the financing issues when they are given the mandate to govern, as that has become the most significant challenge of our power sector. You had a lot to say on the technical and operational issues as well. When you spoke these words, you were a technocrat, essentially. But today, you are a politician. You have served in the Energy Ministry. Honorable Anta, what has been your response as a politician to these issues you yourself identified when you were Executive Director for ASEP?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, fortunately, the energy sector problems do not know politicians or technical people. When there is no power, everybody feels it. And so to a larger extent, we have addressed the generation issues. The reason you still have on and off are the technical, operational issues. And this is why government is investing heavily in this area. Through the MIDA, we got some money, some grants, which are being invested in various projects, the Pokwasi bulk supply point, Kasua, etc., etc. And so financing is really the challenge, because without that, we will not be able to take our energy sector to the uninterruptible level. And that will not be appropriate for growing the industrial base of our country. So financing is an issue. We've also introduced the cash waterfall mechanism, which is now improved cash flow between the utilities. And recently, the president also allocated some 100 million US to ECG to further improve on the distribution system. So this government, the NPP government, over the last term, has invested, directed so much money towards improving the operational and technical efficiency of our energy sector, so we can deliver uninterrupted power to Ghanaians. Thank you, Chairman.
Honorable, we have got grants. Government has allocated. Is that the solution, the financial solution? Where are we generating money to pay for the services we enjoy? How?
Mr. Chairman, it is true that the level of collection of bills, which are supposed to generate the revenue to invest in our power sector, has not been encouraging, has not been satisfactory. The collection losses are quite high. In addition to that, we also lose revenue for unaccounted for power through transmission losses and distribution losses. These losses are about 30–34% today. So we don't generate money for that, even though that power has been bought and paid. It's supposed to be paid for by the distribution company. And so, yes, there are challenges, and this is why government has been finding money. I'm wondering how government gets this money to inject in the industry. But the truth is that government is providing money, because government cannot allow that to deteriorate to the levels that we cannot cope with. Also, the excess capacity payments that government is doing is also one of the challenges, compounding the financial issues in the sector. Because you have power you are not using, yet you are paying for it. Because some of the private plants are take-or-pay contracts. Now, the cost of this is not factored in the tariffs. And therefore, government has to find the money. The Minister for Finance estimates $500 million US annually. And so, yes, it's a challenge, but government has done so well to find money. I don't know how the Finance Minister has been managing to get that money, but government has found money so that the situation doesn't deteriorate to the levels that we cannot cope with. Thank you, Chairman.
Sure. Honorable, in the same paper I alluded to, you had proposed as a solution to ensuring that there is private investment in power generation, the privatization of ECG. Now, we all know the challenges the attempt to privatize that entity generated, and with the PDS and all the ensuing scandals. Today, we are back to the previous status quo, where these entities have to be run by the state. Now, if you return to the Energy Ministry, what are you going to do to ensure that VRA, ECG are efficiently managed and run to ensure that we have stability in our power generation?
Mr. Chairman, as far as VRA, I think that there is evidence to suggest that VRA has improved significantly. It's moved from a loss-making company to a profit-making company. So I don't have much problem with the way VRA is managed. As far as ECG, my minister, when he appeared here, stated that government is still committed to private sector participation in ECG. If that is what we will require to improve on the efficiency of ECG. Indeed, we already have some private sector participation in ECG. And I associated with his answer that he will consider other areas within ECG that are not working well and find a way to introduce private sector management into those areas so that we can improve on the efficiency that ECG needs to deliver power to our people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Last question. Dr. Anta, you are MP for Karaga. Karaga shares similar characteristics with the Bulsa North. Both are rural constituencies. And you know the problem with rural constituencies. There is the problem of a lack of connectivity to the national grid. So electrification is a major problem. And for me, my constituency, Bulsa North, the other day I directed the same question to your colleague who is here to give you solidarity, that some communities where contracts were awarded for some communities to be connected to the national grid as far back as 2016. And after 2016, works have stalled. Honorable Dr. Anta, what would you do to ensure that these stalled contracts are revived, to ensure that the people of Bulsa North, those communities that don't have electricity, and even Karaga, because I know there are communities in Karaga that still don't have light, that they are connected to the national grid?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I don't have the full facts about those contracts because I was not overseeing the power sector. But having said this, this government is committed to universal access to electricity. And therefore, I know that His Excellency the President has committed his government to 2024 when we should achieve universal access, which means that every part of Ghana, including the hard-to-reach areas, will have to be given access. And so I can speak without any hesitation that my minister is going to lead us as a team to fulfill the President's promise of achieving universal access by 2024, which means that your communities that are currently not connected will have access. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Honorable Tampuri.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the Honorable nominee, Dr. Mohamed Amin Anta, and I grew up together in Tamale in Ababu. We used to play football, even though he was not a good player. I was a better player. So that has to be put on record, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, what he lacked in soccer skills, he had it in his brains. He was very, very brilliant. And in Form 3, when he wrote the O-level to 6th Form, he didn't include it in the CV. He again wrote the A-level in lower 6th. Now, Mr. Chairman, I've known him inside out. But going through the nominee CV, I've searched everywhere. I don't know whether he has any hobbies. I can't find any hobbies. Now, because I know him so well, I thought he would have had some 1 or 2 hobbies here, at least, so that we'll put it on record. Mr. Chairman, do you have any hobbies? Honorable nominee, apart from studying.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the truth is that he earned the name Capito because of his soccer skills. And I was the coach. But as far as my hobbies, I have reading there because I read all the time. I like reading, you know, and I don't sleep that much because I have to read late into the night. Textbooks and storybooks, etc., etc. So if he knows of other hobbies, Mr. Chairman, I'll discuss that with him when the committee discharges me. But this is what I can say for now. Thank you, Chairman.
You're done. Very well. Honorable Zuini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. Congratulations to the honorable nominee. I raise my hand to volunteer to fill that portion of his CV. But Chairman didn't catch, I didn't catch the Chairman's eye, so I'll let it pass. Indeed, Mr. Chairman, the honorable nominee, together with the honorable ranking member, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, in our secondary school days, were those we looked up to in terms of their academic laurels. And you asked earlier about his nickname. Students, as we were at the time, rushed to attend their extra classes that they organized for free, just to inspire and motivate the generation that was after them. At the time, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, the ranking member, was known as Haruni Cons because of his prowess when it came to the subject economics. And Honorable Aminanta was equally versatile. Especially, what I used to enjoy most was his motivational speeches when he visited GIMSA programs in our various schools. He had in-depth knowledge of the Quran and all of that. He was a teacher. And so, Mr. Chairman, when I look through his CV, I see the number of languages that he puts there. Dagbanli, spoken and written. English, spoken and written. Arabic, he only writes written, without indicating if he speaks it or not. And a colleague earlier was asking if it is an indication that he is one of those who know how to use the Quran for spiritual purposes. Those that are mistakenly referred to as malams in the local dialect. Is that the case?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I did not write spoken because I've lost my fluency. And I wasn't sure if somebody on the committee was going to ask me to say certain words in Arabic. So this is why I put written there. But in response to Honorable Sohini, yes, I've studied the Quran. I write Arabic well. I can interpret some sections of the Quran, and that was why I was able to give them the motivational speeches. But let me also come back to the point he made about the minority leader and I providing free tuition to students in Tamale. The minority leader actually was our senior, and we used to go and stand by the window because any class that he taught was full to capacity. And so that inspired me a lot, and I followed his steps. Subsequently, other younger ones followed my steps, you know. And so we were doing this without charging. We were doing it from our heart because we felt that we needed to mentor and to support our younger ones to also climb the academic ladder. So that was the reason we were doing it. I have not regretted that.
Indeed. And I think you have achieved your aim, and we thank you. Our generation thank you for that motivation, the two of you especially. We continue to look up to you. Now let's look at some substantive issues. You practically set up ASEP. And at the time you led ASEP, the government of Ghana entered into a deal with a Dubai company to bring the Ameri plant. At a time, Ghana was hit with an age-long energy crisis. Your colleague deputy, the last time he appeared, indicated that today Ameri is to be put up in the Ashanti region to augment our power generation capacity. You led ASEP, together with other civil society organizations, to heavily criticize that deal and indicated that instead of government paying $530 million for that transaction, it could have been gotten for less. In fact, some suggested that it was inflated by $150 million US. There was a promise by the New Patriotic Party at the time to review the deal if it got the reins of government. Thanks be to God, they did. Set up a 17-member committee that went to Dubai and other places to investigate this deal. That committee also found itself engulfed in some controversies. But eventually, the much-awaited review was to be brought to Parliament with new partners. Miscellaneous became the new name of the Ameri. Unfortunately, many critics thought it was even more terrible if the first deal was bad. It led, in some say, to the dismissal of the then minister that you worked under, Mr. Agyapong. Now, ASEP, led by a different person, Boachi, also indicated and agreed with critics that the renegotiated deal that came to Parliament was worse than the previous deal you led ASEP to criticize. My question to you is, what happened? What went wrong? With your knowledge at ASEP, with your position at the Energy Ministry, how come the renegotiated deal was roundly condemned the way it was condemned, leading to the dismissal of the then substantive Minister of Energy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as I indicated earlier, my role at the ministry was in the petroleum sector. And so I wasn't part of the negotiation team that negotiated this largely power issue. When I got involved with Ameri was when the president asked the Honorable Ameri to renegotiate that. And so he set up another team, and I'm sure he recognized that I had some input to make. And so he included me in the negotiation team. And we were able to renegotiate a better deal for Ghana, because what was brought to Parliament was about 13% less in the cost, in the original cost of Ameri. And so we reduced the total cost of Ameri by 13%. We also improved on the payment terms, because we were supposed to pay some $90 million US to them at a go, but we managed to spread it over time. And in addition to this, we managed to get them to exempt the payment from interest accumulation. And so they also gave us a discount, further discount. And so the renegotiated one, led by the Honorable Ameri, was, in my view, a better deal. And that was when I made direct contribution to the negotiation. Thank you, Chairman.
Well, even that too has been criticized because of the tenure, and cumulatively, some say it is still expensive, but I'll leave it for another discussion.
Mr. Chairman, the tenure hasn't changed. It's the same tenure. We didn't change the tenure. 5 years.
Thank 5 years?
Chairman. Yes.
Then I think that at this time, per the original contract, Ameri plant should be that of Ghana's. Is that the case? As
yes, yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you for the information. So let's look at OMCs and BDCs too. You had a number of issues. You raised a number of concerns with regard to how they took advantage of the deregulation at the time to, if you like, price as if they were operating a cartel, when that shouldn't have been the case. You did a number of calculations at ASEP that showed that the pricing window allowed them to either reduce prices further in some cases or increase minimally in some cases. But you thought the uniform pricing suggested some collaboration to cheat the consumer. Nothing much has changed since you became Deputy Minister of Energy.
Mr. Chairman, a lot has changed because the deregulation policy has been religiously implemented. If you take 3 petrol stations out there, you will see variation in their prices. The variation may not be significant. There may be marginal variation, but you will see variation in their prices. And that's a reflection of a deregulated market, as opposed to the regulated market, where there was catalysis, either at the BDC level or at the OMC level. But with the full introduction of the deregulation policy, I think that we have seen some changes. We still need to do more on the deregulation, but there will be consequences. Because at the moment, you have a petrol station selling the same price across all its outlets, even though they are in different places where cost differential may occur. So is it possible for a station, one OMC, to be selling at a price lower than the price they're selling at another location? Because when they take cargoes, the distances are not the same. You know, and so we need to look further into how to improve on the market, the deregulated market, but certainly there will be some consequences because some people may not understand why, you know, this OMC is selling at a lower price here than another area. And this is the role the UPPF is playing, the Unified Petroleum Pricing Formula is performing. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, ExxonMobil, the minority, even before this year, due to some concerns, predicted that if care was not taken, ExxonMobil was going to exit this country. They have. What happened? Could we have prevented that?
I don't remember he has responded to that. I think when he stepped out. So
okay, sorry about that. Thank you. You also had concerns with our lack of a gas plan as a country, if you like, before you were Deputy Energy Minister, Senior Deputy Minister for that matter. We still do not have a comprehensive gas plan, or if we do, at what stage are we in terms of its implementation, given that we continue to discover gas in commercial quantities?
Mr. Chairman, as far as gas plan is concerned, we have the gas master plan, which was done under the NDC regime. The MPP inherited it, and we improved upon it. We reviewed and improved upon it, and it's being implemented. So we have a master plan which is being implemented. As far as implementation is concerned, the separation of Ghana gas from GNPC is one of the issues in the gas master plan. Pricing is another issue, and you know that we have been able to reduce gas price from $8.8 per million BTU that we inherited from the NDC to $6.08 dollars per million BTU, because the plan required that cheaper gas was sold in Ghana if we have to patronize the gas for the development of our industry. And therefore, at $8.8, that was not possible. And so as part of the implementation of the master plan, we managed to negotiate the price of gas down. There are other issues we are still discussing that have to do with the institutional realignment. And, you know, there was a question on merging PURC and the Energy Commission. There is also the discussion on what role GNPC should play, either as an aggregator or Ghana Gas playing that role. Those discussions are still ongoing. Fortunately, my minister then asked me to chair the gas task force, which was overseeing the implementation of the gas master plan. And we've done our best to this level. And so, yes, it's being implemented. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. We jump to you. Yes, leader.
Chairman, we should be, I appreciate the nominee, and probably, as I said, unlucky Anta, probably he could be minister, not deputy senior to Obiamwa. But Chairman, just where he left it with the Honorable Sohine, I have with me here Act 541 and Act 800 of 2010 and 541 of 1997. In your response to the Honorable Sohine and earlier to Honorable Muntaka, you are thinking of some measures. For us in Parliament, Chairman is very good at putting question on it. Those who understand it, the long title of a bill, you are now here, you would appreciate it better, gives us indication what the primary purpose of the legislation is. And for Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, it reads, an act to amend the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission Act 1997 to impose a levy on electricity and natural gas transmission services and other prescribed public utility services. Now, when you come to the Energy Commission Act, it reads, an act to establish an Energy Commission provides for its functions relating to the regulation, management, development, and utilization of energy resources. I do not see how these two can sit in harmony. I fail to see it. Tell me why you think that Energy Commission must be merged with PURC. I remain.
Mr. Chairman, there is a fourth law the minority leader did not mention, the establishment, PURC establishment law, which also empowered PURC to regulate, just as Energy Commission empowered by its establishment law to regulate. What he referred to in relation to PURC is the Regulatory Levy Act, which they are supposed to impose on utilities for purposes of generating revenue to manage the authority. Mr. Chairman, I used to be a member of the commission of the PURC. And so I know that the economic regulation PURC does somehow is not comprehensive if they cannot do economic, technical regulation, because they have to shuffle between Energy Commission and PURC to be able to do a comprehensive work. And so if we want to avoid over-regulation, then you need an institution, one stop shop, where both economic and technical regulation takes place. Because of the circumstance under which PURC was set up, at that time, petroleum prices were increasing, arbitrarily. And so it was set up without, thinking that technical regulation will also be important. But we've learned our lessons. When we set up Petroleum Commission, we decided to add technical and economic regulation in one regulation. And this is the proposal that is being discussed for the merger of the two institutions. Thank you, Mr.
Chairman, I appreciate the nominee's answer. As I recall, I worked with the Honorable Tawia Lepalmo on reforms of the PURC. And in fact, it was our subcommittee which gave it financial muscle and financial sustainability. You can check your record at the ministry. I'm simply saying that Energy Commission set standards. For instance, the bulbs, LED, what category comes to Ghana? How does that affect, how is that energy efficient? That's standards. PURC is to regulate charges. I'm just still wondering, you don't need to give me a satisfactory answer, why you want to harmonize a regulator and a fee charger. Because PURC, as the Honorable Muntaka observed earlier, knowing you government, there is a private sector, there is a AGI. The PURC was to be an independent person. If you want, Chairman, maybe let me say it politely. Government didn't want to be seen to be the one increasing these prices. So he said, okay, go to PURC. You know that for a fact. That when you want to do things, you hide in the name of PURC. I've been in government like you. So anyway, you don't need to respond to it. Chairman, that brings me back to Honorable Suhin again. Last question on gas. Why is GNPC contracting for 250 MMSCF of gas now when we have enough domestic gas till 2030? Why? GNPC.
Mr. Chairman, I think that as far as the gas issue is concerned, we will appreciate the issue well if I give some figures to buttress my answer. Domestic gas supply as of today is 335 million standard cubic feet a day. And this